I'd like to thank the School of Policy and Governance and Better Futures Australia for the opportunity to speak to participants at the 2023 Net Zero Fellowship Program. It's really great to speak to India's current and emerging leaders about how we can work together to address the impacts of climate change and build a more climate resilient future. Canberra, Australia's capital city, is delivering one of the most ambitious climate action agendas in the world. And as Chief Minister of the Australian Capital Territory and Minister for Climate Action, our government is responding to the challenge of climate change by recognising the opportunity it presents to build a smarter, healthier, more resilient and sustainable city. Our achievements show that designing a carbon neutral, thriving city is complex, but it's definitely possible. In 2020, Canberra became the first major city outside of Europe to transition to 100% renewable electricity. This was a significant milestone in our journey to achieve our target of net zero emissions by 2045. To reach 100% renewable electricity, the ACT government pioneered an innovative reverse auction process which required large-scale solar and wind power generators to compete or bid for the right to supply the ACT with renewable electricity at the lowest cost. Through this mechanism, the ACT government became a substantial investor and national leader in the development of Australia's renewable energy sector. The ACT government has also taken action to promote energy efficiency and reduce emissions in the built environment. Our Sustainable Household Scheme and our Home Energy Support programs are supporting households to invest in energy efficient upgrades, reducing their carbon footprints while also saving money and time through reduced energy bills and through the introduction of minimum energy efficiency standards for ceiling insulation in rental homes. We're helping Canberrans to improve the energy performance of their rental properties, increasing their thermal comfort, reducing emissions and making their homes more adaptable to the changing climate. These measures are crucial to ensuring that the transition to a net zero economy is fair and it's equitable, and it doesn't leave behind those households who are most vulnerable to high cost of living pressures and the impacts of climate change. Looking forward, the ACT government has committed to phasing out the use of fossil fuel gas and will seek to electrify our city by 2045. Currently, fossil fuel gas accounts for more than 20% of carbon emissions in Canberra. Pursuing such a significant transition will need to be done responsibly and sustainably over the next 20 years. We want to enable households and businesses to save money by switching their appliances to electric alternatives at a time that's right for them. In progressing this reform, we need to be mindful of the challenges this will pose for the community and the technology limitations we will need to overcome. Although difficult, governments must not shy away from this transition and indeed should be leading by example. In the ACT, we are taking serious action to reduce government emissions and to achieve net zero emissions from government operations by 2040, 5 years earlier than our target for the rest of the community. This means we're electrifying up to 10,000 public housing properties, transitioning our entire public transport fleet to zero-emission vehicles, upgrading public pools to be heated with electricity, pursuing zero-emission alternatives for waste collection services, and electrifying our schools, hospitals and other essential services to run totally off renewable energy. To ensure our energy grid can support this increase in electricity demand, we're also investing in large and small-scale battery storage systems. The Big Canberra battery is an ecosystem of diverse battery systems varying in size and design that will be spread throughout our city and provide at least 250 megawatts of stored renewable energy to support grid reliability and security. This infrastructure is essential to achieving our government's electrification initiatives. Not only will it strengthen our electricity grid, but it will also reduce greenhouse gas emissions, create more skilled local jobs and drive long-term development, growth and sustainability for Australia's renewable energy sector. To tackle our largest source of emissions, transport, the government has taken significant action to incentivise the increased uptake of zero-emission vehicles and to invest in the critical public infrastructure necessary to support their use. As a direct result of sustained policy reforms, including free zero-emission vehicle registration, stamp duty waivers for new purchases, zero interest loans of up to $15,000 to support the purchase of new vehicles. As a direct result of sustained policy reforms, including free registration, stamp duty waivers for new purchases, and a zero interest loan scheme of up to $15,000 to support the purchase of new zero emission vehicles, the ACT has consistently outperformed every other Australian jurisdiction in ZEV uptake. In the first quarter of 2023, ZEV sales accounted for 1 in 5 new vehicles sold in the Territory. And by 2030, the government has set a target for 80 to 90% of new car sales to be zero-emission vehicles. To achieve this massive transformation in our transport system, the government is pursuing innovative solutions, collaborating with cities, states and countries around the world to share knowledge. With transport emissions currently accounting for 64% of the ACT's total greenhouse gas emissions, effective climate action in this sector is crucial. In responding to the numerous and complex challenges of climate change, it's imperative that governments take an integrated approach to the infrastructure investment and design of the policy, programs and regulatory reforms necessary to drive meaningful reductions in emissions and build a climate resilient future. The success of the ACT government's climate action efforts to date can be attributed to our collaborative approach and willingness to engage with the community, industry and research institutions to support our strategic objectives. And whilst we're proud of our achievements, we also acknowledge that the journey towards a sustainable net zero future is ongoing. The ACT government aims to further reduce emissions, to increase the resilience of our community and ensure a sustainable and prosperous future for all. These actions are a testament to our vision for Canberra as a progressive, inclusive, innovative and sustainable city. Thank you.